Good afternoon everyone, so today we're at a Ford Fiesta 2015. So this is the 1.6 DCi, TDCi engine. Customer's complaint, during that very cold weather when it was -10, he went to crank it and it would not start. They said that the coolant was frozen, and so he left it, tried to thaw it off, went back to it. Still, it cranks over but does not start. So he had a friend look at it, said there wasn't any codes. So we went and scanned it for codes. And can you guess what's up with this thing? Just before you guess, the mileage is 92,000. So we done a full scan, and funny enough, we're getting codes. So let's see, we'll do diagnostic plan. And I said to Roddy before we done it, do you think we'll have a 340 or a 17 or a 16 code? Let me see this. So tyre pressure sensor, rubbish. Missing communication with HVAC. HVAC, there we go. Powertrain, starter motor deactivated. Engine cranking too long. System voltage low. And here we go, here's the biggie. P0340 camshaft position sensor, A circuit or single sensor. And a P0340 camshaft circuit or single sensor. And power relay outage too early, and power relay outage too early. So our problem is P0340. What do you think we need? We need a timing belt. Apart from maybe need a crankshaft sensor, but I don't think so. I've never had to replace one yet. So started to take the bolts out. This here's 7mm, and I'll wait for Roddy to come back. We'll crank it over, and we'll see if the belt turns. Or do you think all the teeth are chewed off? I'll wait for Roddy to come back and verify this. There is a camshaft position sensor there. See the wire? And it's a purple, a green, and a white, I think, maybe. So we could just probe into that and see if we get any. There you go, that's a better shot. See if we get any signals out of that. See if there's any movement. So I've just set my scope on the graphing multimeter, because this is not a very fast signal. So I'll just test it onto the battery. See if I can get both things in the shot. See if we must check your probes first. Well, here's the man back, we're alright. So there you can see that we've verified a good 12 volts on the scope before we go to do testing. So that's me into the purple wire, but I don't know if the ignition's on. Right, so I'll probe into this. When I probe into the back of the purple wire, you can see that's 0 volts because that is a ground. I then go to the middle wire, which is the signal wire, which comes from the ECU, and I get 4.96 volts as you see on the screen. So that's good. And then I go to the top wire, which is a 5 volt reference, and you always want that as close to 5 volts, like 499, 50, 5.00 or 5.2. So that's a good 5 volt reference. Crank it over, Roddy man. See if we get any output for that signal. Well, the poor man's trying to get his piece here. Most son, there's what to be done. What? That's it. Right, crank over. Crank over. That's the vote. Wait, I'll get a jump pack. Abandon all operation. Right. So jump pack is now on. Right, Roddy, get a barrel. Oh, what? It's moving. There's no going to crank over. Oh, well, actually that sensor's moving, so let's clear the codes and see if the thing will crank over, because that one's got to inhibit and crank. Right, so we've cleared the codes. Go again. So you can see that crankshaft sensor's moving. Oh, I think we need a good battery on this thing. Wait till we get a decent battery pack. There it's cranking now, so that is indeed moving. So we'll have an output of some sort, but who's to say it's in time? Right, Roddy, burler. She's still intact. She's still going. Right. Maybe no timing belt. Maybe open my fat mouth too early. So maybe never open my fat mouth too early. That P0340 came right back. And it's not like that sensor at all. So the thing is turning, but you would imagine it's out of position, so we're going to check the teeth on the belt. The other one is low voltage, but we know that already. So we've got the timing cover off the thing. And indeed, the belt looks okay. It's still not to say it's not slipped right enough. So we're going to rotate the belt and see if we can see any anomalies, i.e. teeth fell off, anything like that. But we need to wait for the battery to charge up because it's flat. And I was wanting a cam crank correlation, see if the scan tool would change state. Yeah. So we've marked up the timing belt, we've rotated the timing belt, and the belt has got all its teeth, which is remarkable for staying in Scotland by Iron Brew. So I was still convinced that the belt's out with that camshaft code, but we'll do a bit of research. So we've took some of the trunking off and went into the sensor, and I'll let us see these voltages. So we're in the top pin here, which is the green wire. You can see that we've got a steady. Oh, it's hard to see that. 5 volts. The middle wire. You can see there we've got another 4.93 volts, so I can't condemn that sensor. And then we'll go to the bottom one, let's see if we've got a ground. Right. So that's reading 0, but we'll take a lead and we'll go to battery positive. So there we go, that's a good sensor. And that sensor's got an output. So there is the sensor I've removed. I'll show you the location in a minute. But I'd be loath to put a sensor in that, because I think a 340 and a 341 can still mean timing or performance. Just depends on the year. But oh Roddy, you think we should try a sensor? Timing, definitely timing. There is no doubt. It's another day back at the Ford Fiesta, so it's gave us a bit of time to consolidate our mind. Is that right, Roddy? And think about it. So I'm still convinced it's the timing, but Roddy the man's, he's not convinced it is, so we'll go with that. So what I thought during the night, this is what I dream about during the night. So we'll read the fault codes again. We'll do the key on demand test. Let's go with that. And you'll hear it, it spins up the fan, blah blah blah, and we get a clean bill of health. Let's see. So that's all good. So what I was thinking, if this had been a hard wiring fault, I'm pretty sure that it would report it as a hard fault when it does its continuity test through the camshaft sensor. So to me it's more a performance fault. It's waiting for the camshaft to turn. So I know it's usually a 341 performance, but this is a 340, so it could still be the same. The other thing we were thinking was it could actually be the crank sensor. So we're going to do a few tests here. So Roddy, you want to unplug? I'll show you this. So let's see what fault code comes up for that. So read fault codes, retrieve CMTT, blah 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 blah. So there's nothing there, so we'll go back and do the key on engine self test. Let's see if this gets it. Oh, still not got a fault code, Roddy. Right, so maybe that rules out a hard wiring fault. Oh look, wait to see this. We've checked antifreeze and there is 0. So that's not very good. Right. So that's my theory up the stank. So then crank her, what I was thinking, we'll crank her over with the camshaft disconnected and see if we get an RPM reading. So, and that can rule out the crank sensor, although the crank sensor, wait a second, I'm thinking ahead here. Engine RPM. So we'll go OK. So we'll graph her. So I'll crank her over and see. So that's still disconnected already, man? Aye. So crank her over, see how we've got an input from the. Sometimes this scan tool cuts. Right. Is it good, Roddy? Aye. Right. So that rules out our crank sensor. Although there still could be movement within the crank sensor at the woodruff. So we kind of thought of that as well. The other thing I was thinking, the polarity may have flipped on the cam sensor, and you still cannot see that in the scope, because we had an ABS signal before. On the scope it looked brilliant, but it was defunct, and as soon as we changed it, it worked. Now you're wondering why we don't just put another cam sensor in it. We cannot get one for our supplier, because this cam sensor here is different. This is the updated one. The older one has a lead on it. I'm sure they're not interchangeable. So we're trying to rule everything out before we get a cam sensor. So the other thing I was thinking, go back in with the scope and check power and ground. Check the ground and the signal output here, because I'm convinced if we're getting the monitoring voltage when we disconnect it, that under 5 volts, that means it's good for there all the way back to the computer, which is, I'm sure, is under this wing. So we're saying 4 things. We're saying it's either the computer, it could be wiring, it could be the sensor, or it could be timing. And timing, I mean, it's maybe not at the top here, it's maybe out slight at the bottom. So we're trying to do the easiest things first. So I think the next easiest thing to do is to put the scope back on it. So incidentally, we've still got an RPM reading, right? So we'll go back and see if that code's been generated that time. So that's the same. With it disconnected, it's coming up with a P0340 camshaft position sensor circuit. So it's still a circuit code. Is that exactly? It's these digits 31-27, right? I'll go back my footage and see if it's exactly the same code. Right, we look back at our old codes. The P0340 is still there, but these numbers are different. Coolant 31-27. So we have changed something with disconnecting it. So let's get the scope on it. Right, before we get the scope out, what we're going to do this time, since we've got a better battery, we've got RPM here, and we've also got relative compression test and power balance test, cam belt location and crankshaft location. So I think this is for the synchronization of the two signals. So let's crank it over again and see if this goes from off to on or yes. Something like that. Let's try that. The camshaft's on, lying away. So I've put the camshaft back on. So here we go. So that says on, and it's like it wants to start it. So let's. So, and that gave a kick there, so it went up to 400, and that's saying on. It's saying, I'm sure that's what that says. Let's read it again. Okay. So it says relative compression and power balance test, cam belt location crank are synchronized. So they're saying they're synchronized. Oh, so that means it has to be receiving a signal for the camshaft, and well, this is what I'm beginning to wonder. We barking up the wrong tree here. Let's go back, read our codes. He checked it for diesel, he said. Bang, right back. So let's do that test again, and we'll you want to disconnect that again, Roddy? Just camshaft is off, the camshaft. So clear the fault memory. The sensor's unplugged. Okay. So read fault codes. We'll do this one. So that when I see that kind of rules out timing. So we'll read data stream. We'll type in there cam, and we'll go RPM again, RPM. Go OK. We'll graph the two of them, and let's see if that stays off. Here we go. Camshaft disconnected. Oh, it went on and then it went off. So that to me, what's that say to me? So that knew there was a problem because that stayed on all the time the last time. So it is recognising an input for the camshaft, and it's saying on. So I think we've got no choice but to try a camshaft sensor, because that is our next easiest step. The only thing would do after that is check the timing manually, but that'll take a bit of labour. Right, we'll have to go for a camshaft sensor. So we used the ground on the sensor this time just to rule everything out. So you can see my bottom probes into that. The white wires at the bottom, and then the purple. No, it's the purple wires at the bottom, and then the one in the middle is white. And we took the pattern off of that. So look at that. It looks picture perfect, that. So if we go and zoom in a bit, come out a bit. So it's like two big ones, two small ones, and I'm sure they repeat. Alright, look. That's a complete, so big, big, small. And if we shine a light in here, you can see, this is difficult to see. There's, just trust me, so you've got a big one there, and then the smaller ones, that window down there. So there is nothing wrong with that pattern, and I would assume that's what's getting back to the computer. But easy enough, we're just going to try another sensor on it. Flummoxed. No, unless, let's see if we can see that sensor already. Is that? So at the moment that sensor's covered, isn't it? So it's covered, so that should be, let's see, that should be grounded out, I would imagine, if it's covered. So we can't see the sensor at the moment, so we'll go OK. So I'm sure you agree that pattern looks great. So go back, volts DC. So that's right, so the sensor is covered, so that means it's grounded. Is the key on it, Roddy?
Aye.
Will you want to put the key on, my man, and just see if... The key, so turn it, just... In fact, could we wobble her, and just to make... We'll just... In gear, and we'll wobble her, and just to see if we can see the sensor. Because the sensor resides in here, is covered over. So we'll just uncover the sensor. Oh, is it in here? No. We'll go for it. We'll watch the scope. That's it. So that's at high. So I agree with that. And you can see the sensor just right in there. That's our sensor in there. And see the sensor's open. So we can see that. Oops. Let's zoom out. That's good. Unflummoxed. So we've done a test. We put our probe into one of the injectors. We believe this is a Peugeot Citroen. So we reckon number one's at this side. And you can see we must have sync, or a sync of some sort, because it's firing the injector. So I'll just come out. So you can see that's a regular pattern. Just like this Peugeot's we worked on last week. Let's go back in. So there we go. Oh, let's come along here. Oh. So we're getting our 3 strikes. So what we can do is we'll sync our signal using a ramps clamp. That's what we'll do next, to see if injection is happening at TDCi. That's what we could try. So next test, we're connected into the back of the injector. I've actually done this back to front, but never mind. Right at the injector, we have our amps clamp on, and Roddy's going to crank it over and see what kind of trace we get here. Right, my man. So let's. No any leak.
No.
So, what we can deduce for that? Oh, somehow. Oh. No, they're all right. They're all right. Or are they all right? That looks strange. So what we're looking at here is injector event is happening at TDCi, but there's nothing in between. Or if it is in between, it's very low. So look at that, Roddy.
You scope it more than that. You bring up.
Wait a see. So that's about the base there.
Right. That's better.
So it's like we've got. So there's one there, one missing, but that's like this. Dave Sterrell told me about this. It's like, I call it cross chatter between the injectors, but you can see one's high, one's low, one's high, one's low. We've got a compression problem. Look at that. We're back again. We're back again to our timing. Oh dear, dear. Right, let's no bother.
Yeah.
Let's just do a relative compression test and no bother the injectors. That's what we'll do because we're getting up to I'll work it out and get back to you. So I turned the channel off for the injector. So the big one's saying 1.9, so that's 190 amps. But one of the smaller ones, say that one there, he's only reading, so we've got a 30 amps difference. So there's something up there. High, low. At 190, 200 amps. Now that'd be about right for a 1.6. That'll do, my man. Right, look at that. So battery low, high, low, high. We've got a timing issue. Definitely. Low, high, low. Oh, sorry. Something up there. Look, it's bringing it down. It's trying to go up. It should be like M's all the way, and that's horrible. Timing. Back to timing. What a donkey am I? So we're going after timing compression, like we started at the beginning with. Anyway, I want to show you this. We've got to test this one out. A new amps probe. It does up to 600 amps. Got it off at AliExpress. I think it was at £12. So you've got to put a 9-volt battery in it. The only bad thing I don't like about it, see this power button? It presses up and down, so that'll get left on. It does AC and DC, so you can use it about the house to your heart's content. But we want the button up, that's DC. But I wanted it because of the big jaws. It's okay in this one, but if we go to another one, Rory, crank it out and see if it works from one. So I've just put. Oh, there, my man. Alright, it does. So here we go. This is what happens when you get things off the AliExpress. The button's got to be pressed down, even though that's for AC. Never mind. But we have got a waveform of it. So you can see. Hopefully you can see that. So open that up. So we get an in-rush current. Well, it's only based on a 1 amp scale, this thing. So we get an in-rush current of over, must be 800 amps. And then it's cranking over there. Oof, I don't know what scale they're using here. Anyway, I'll work away at it. It must be about 200 amps here. Let's go to this one here. Can you read that? Cursor 2. I'll come back to you. The idea, my man. Update. So we've removed the timing belt cover and we've timed it at the top, so it's a difficult shot. So you see that little hole in the centre of the picture? Roddy, you got that timing belt bit there, lad?
Sorry?
The 8mm drill bit.
Right.
Oops. So that's the hole there. So Roddy will put a 8mm drill bit through. Oh no, it doesn't fit. Don't worry. Right, it doesn't fit because of this. We need to take the water bottle out, but never worry. So we're timed up there, and down the bottom there, let's see, where the fuel, where's that fuel pump went to, Roddy? It's moved.
Side, yeah.
That's it, see right in the middle of the picture. The fuel pump is lined up as well, so that's good, up the top is good. But wait till you see down the bottom. We believe, you know where we've got the drill bit, through the only hole in that phonic wheel, and that's a 5mm drill bit. And we believe that that drill should be at the top at the 12 o'clock position, and you can see it's at the 3 o'clock position. So we're going to turn the crankshaft and see if we can put that pin right through, because I'll show you in the computer. One of my earlier videos, and this was on a Ford Focus, same engine, and you can see it's at the 12 o'clock position. So let's turn the crank and see if we can draw it into line. Right, so we've got, difficult angle, we've got our pin, that's at 12 o'clock position, so that's where the timing mark is. See that under there, right? So when we go to the top, our timing marks are a mile off. There's, oh, right in the middle. Oh dear, what is this thing doing? There's our timing mark there, right in the middle. That's a hole there. So he should be up at the 1 o'clock position. So he is well off. Timing. I was right again, Roddy.
You were right again.
Right, so we took off the camshaft cover. Bit of paste to get into. You've got to remove the engine mount and the timing cover, you name it, the lot. Oh, I take that bit off the throttle body. So you can see in here, let's see. So Roddy will point to the lobe. It's like that one we done before, so it's not got any cat. Look, oh, there's a problem. So the belt has slipped. But what we need here is, you need a bit of luck. So you need a camshaft and you need followers, and you hope when you take it off that the pistons, the valves have not been hit. 99% of the times they do not hit, but that 1% they do. So I suppose we could maybe do a leak down test. Let me think. But you can see the cam follower is gone. That one's, is that one there? Put this light off, too much light I think. Oh, you got another bit ready?
Big bit
right.
Come off through.
Melted. Right. Involved job. Oh wait, now put this light on. That better. Diagnosis was right. We want to check to see if all our valves are closed, or at least in the same position, before we do this job. So Roddy's marked up, see that screwdriver with a tip X. Now it's roughly the same height. He's just landing on top of the, you're landing on top of each of the valves, so you can see it's roughly at the height of the top of the cam carrier. So go to the next one, Roddy. And that one's exactly the same. And that one's the same. And that one the same, aye, roughly the same. The next one. And the same. And the same. And the same. And the same. Right, so we would be pretty confident that we didn't have any bent valves. Yep,
Aye.
think so. So, because they're pivoted from the other side. So they're all exactly. So either they're all bent, which they're no because we've got compression, or they're all good. So I think that would be good enough to go ahead with this job. Right.
Okay, bear yes,
I'm going to show you something here, boys and girls. I got myself a new microphone. And I had it on my overalls, but I bent over this and it's magnetic, and it clipped to there. And could we find the thing? We're going about the garage, and you'll never believe it was a Falkirk Council worker worked it out. He said, put the lights off, and then we seen it no bother. I go for it, right? Look at that. Oh, I better put my light off. That's what made us found it. So our voice test that could, but anyway, that's a wee anecdote. No, it's a true story. It's not an anecdotal story.
That's a bonus.
It's a bonus. So if you have the DJI mic, it's magnetic. That's it. That's it. So we've got the go ahead to repair this machine, but before we do it, what we're doing is we're smoke testing the coolant system, because we believe the water, i.e. the coolant, froze because there wasn't enough antifreeze in it. So we just went right in with our bladder. We just went right into there, and we're filling that with smoke. I'll just prove the point. There we go. Plenty of the stuff coming out. There we go. There's smoke everywhere now. I know the guy said that the water pump was leaking coolant, so I don't know if we'll be able to see that or not. But we're worried about the block. So there we go. We've been left with 1, 2, 3. Oh, 3. 3.5. That's not bad, Roddy.
Right,
That's a result. So strip down the top, and we've took the timing belt off, and we're going to blow it with air or whatever, and put everything down to the sump, and then we take the sump off and renew that, and change the oil and filter, and it should be good to go. Now look, there's a beauty. Is it? Oh, what's that? Is that jammed? Oh, hope no. Is it thing with the valve? Right. Hopefully that's no jammed. Doesn't look too bad. That's like it's embedded into it. We're checking these valves out, and they do all look at the same level. So to me that's a good sign. One video I did see online, the guy had his was well. Oh, that's got movement already. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the weakest spot he's going to go, isn't it?
That's it.
And that's what it's broke.
There's the remnants, and we think we've been lucky. We think we've found all the roller bearings, because it's usually they little bits that go here, there, and everywhere. So these are all good. And we'll still need to change the oil and filter. So there we go, success. It lives again, and I think you can hear it. It's ticking over lovely. So no real damage done. Big job right enough. Fill it with coolant. We've filled it with oil. Cheers.